All right, so we're doing fifth parak, Mem Zayin Moral, fifth parak, Eizehu Mekomon, Zevachim, look the Elder Mission. Eizehu Mekomon Shel Zevachim. What is, and this sounds familiar because we say this in Korbonos every day, especially those who say it every day. Eizehu Mekomon Shel Zevachim. What is the place? You have the big base of Mikdash, you have the chutzner, you have the yard, you bring in the korban to shechted. And is there any specific place in the yard to shechted or vidivels? Wherever you want, you come in and you give your shechted. Doesn't matter where. Yes, the place of Zevachim is like this. Kachik Kedoshim. So we know there are a few kinds of korbanos. There's chatas, there's asham, there's shlomim. Some of them are kachik Kedoshim, which are more holy, and some of them are not kachik kalim, which are less holy, less highly. So we're going to start off. More is actually going to ask us why did we pick this order of which kind of korbanos to mention first. So kachik Kedoshim, the halach of kachik Kedoshim of korbanos, shechitasim b'tzofan. You shechted on the tzofan on the north side of the yard of the Azara, because you had over there, you have the big yard. By the way, the Kaisel Maravi is not even that. It's like there's the building, then there's a yard around the building, then there is a wall around the yard, and then there is a secondary wall outside for the whole Harabayas. That's where our Kaisel is, the current Kaisel Maravi is. So that's really not in the yard itself. In the yard itself, where you had the main building, on the north side, which is Tzofan, which doesn't be Tzofan, is shechted in Tzofan. Now, Par v'Sor Yom Kippur, the Yom Kippur Par and Sor, which we know the part into Kodesh Kodashim is really heilig, also shechitasim b'Tzofan, and Kibbul Domen b'Chlis b'Tzofan. What happened is every korban, there are four critical steps to a korban. And if you don't do these four critical steps, the korban is possible. Everything else is nice, but not critical, which is as follows. Step number one, you have to shecht it. Step number two, you have to makabel the blood into a keli, into a vessel. Step number three, you have to walk it over. Like you could walk it down to another person's office. You got to walk over the blood and walk over to the mizbeach. And step number four is you spritz it on the mizbeach in various ways. That's a different discussion. There are four steps to every korban. Nothing more, nothing less. You shecht it, you receive it, you walk it, and you spritz it. Everything else doesn't matter. Now, you can ask me, well, what about the flour korban, which is no shchita? Yeah, that's true. We'll get to that. But those are the main steps. Okay, so now you shechted it in tzofan, you were makabel the dam in tzofan. Next, with domen toin hazdoya, and you went and you spritzed it. We're talking about the Yom Kippur korban. Albein abadim. You walked into the Kodesh Kodashim, which we know the Kohen Gadol did only once a year. You went over to the Oron and you spritzed between the poles which were carrying the Oron, all the paroiches, and you walked out and you did it on the paroiches, the curtain in between between the oil moed and the Kodesh Kodashim, but the curtain to the Kodesh Kodashim. While Mizbech Azov and on the golden Mizbeach is the inside Mizbeach, inside the building, which wasn't so tall actually. It was about an amos, but it was less than 2 feet. And metona achas, and you have to give at least one metona, be a kevis. If you do less than one, it's no good. One will be enough. And then what happens to the rest of the blood in your keli? Sheyorei hadam, the rest of the blood, hayeshoivich al yisoid meravi, and the western and the Marav side of the Mizbeach, of the outside Mizbeach. I'll explain that in a second. When you didn't do that, then the korban is still kosher. Like I told you before, there are four things that there are critical components. One is shchita, one is shechting, accepting it in a keli, walking it over, and spritzing in Mizbeach. The pouring it out afterwards is not really a problem. This is not really a problem. So now the Mizbeach itself had four sides to it, obviously, and the Mizbeach was in the chutzner, in the yard. As you walked into the chutzner, you walked in the first thing you met the Mizbeach, and after that, as you're walking more and more Marav, after the Mizbeach was the building of the Beis Hamikdash. So if you're shechting in the tzofan in the northern side, as you face west, north is to your right. As you face west, if somebody who lives in the east coast of North America, as you face Los Angeles, California, which is west. The North Pole is to your right. So the Korbonos is to Tzafon, to your right, and then you went and when you finished and you went into the base of Mikdash in the Kodesh Kedoshim. When you walked out of the base of Kodesh Kedoshim, what's the first thing you found was the Marav side of the Mizbeach, and that's where you shechted it, and that's where you poured out the balance of the blood from the cup. Okay, so that is, you said Kodesh Kedoshim, that's done in Yom Kippur. Then the next one lower holy, one lower heilig, Purim and Nesrochim. There's certain korbanos which instead of eating it, you would burn it because it wasn't to be eaten. Some chatas were eaten by the Kohanim. Some chatas were not were burnt. So Purim and Nesrochim, those cows which were burnt, or actually the bulls, the oxen, and the goats which were burnt, those also and also the kibbul domen b'chlisharis. We accepted the blood in the keli, in the heilige keli, the shofan in the north also, and with domen toin hazoy al paroiches. We brought it not Kodesh Kedoshim bein the Bible, as you said before. This didn't make it into the Kodesh Kedoshim. That was only once a year. These made it into the oil moed. You spritz it on the paroiches, on the curtain before the Kodesh Kedoshim, and on Mizbech Hazov, and on the golden Mizbeach, which is inside the oil moed. Okay, on the base, page 2. And metona achaz and mekobet. One metona is critical, but if you did one, it's kosher. What about the leftover blood? Same thing. Shayari hadam or yeshoivich al yisoid marovi. When you walked out of the base of Mikdash, the first thing you bumped into was the western side, the Marav side of the Mizbeach. You poured it out over there. Shemizbeach chitzin. And in lo nosni, if you didn't pour it out over there, or you didn't do anything, lo yikav was not critical. As we said, there are only 4 critical steps to a korban. And all these korbanos, whether it's the ox or the sawyer, all these elu, both of them, the strop in the Beis Hadeshin, they were shecht in the Beis Hadeshin. That's a place where they take out the ashes. When they do a Trumas Hadeshin on the Mizbeach, they take out certain place where they took out and put the ashes, and that's also where they brought these korbanos and they burnt them over there. You just throw it into the garbage. They brought them a certain spot, and there you burnt them, and that was the procedure for these chatos. So that is our Mishnah. Again, what are we saying? A Mishnah that basically we're learning is the location of the treatment of the korban chatos, and then follow up. Some went to Kodesh Kedoshim, some didn't. So you made the shechita and the kabbalah in the northern in the southern side. Then we went to Robert Mizbeach, we splitzed it. That's something else. But the shechita and the kabbalah were done on top. Okay, great. Zog the Gemorra. Now let's go to the Gemorra, 4th line on page 2. Go back to the Mishnah. Look at the Mishnah. The first line. We start off and we say Eizehu Mekomon Zevachim, and say very nicely Kodesh Kedoshim, the shecht in the Tzafon side, and somehow we forgot to mention that you're Mekabel in the Tzafon. All the other ones we say you have to be Mekabel in the Tzafon, and this one we forgot. Or did we? Or give me a better reason. What happened? Why is it missing? Why is the first line missing kibbul domen, and the rest one does have kibbul domen? It's not just negligent. Didn't forget about it. We missed the number of kibbul domen because Joris got talking. Why not? Well, I'll tell you why. Given the ikar asher mitzayra kibbul domen b'yad, of the many kinds of chatos, korbanos, there's chatos, there's asham, there's oiler, there's shlomim. Mitzayra has, and when he's finished, Mitzayra is a complicated procedure, becomes Mitzayra, and then he's locked up, and not locked up in jail, but he goes in a private place, and then he's cleaned with Mitzayra to bring a whole procedure, has been 3 korbanos. One of them is an asham, and what happens is, the kohen takes some of the blood which came out of the asham korban, and he puts a little bit on his head, a little bit on his ear, on his ear, on his thumb, and on his big toe, and so the kohen accepts the blood as it comes out of the animal after shechting in his hand, and he puts it on the mitzvah. So because you have the osher mitzvah, the kibul doma biyad, it's only done by hand. It's done by hand, so therefore he's shire, and it's left over. Biyad is shire. We left it over because not all korbonos are done in the keli. That's what we start off at first. Is that, are you telling me that mitzvah is not accepted in the keli? That's not true. Look at Tanur Kamon, Oshem Nazir, and the Oshem Mitzvah. Shechitas in the tzofin, they're shechted in the tzofin as all other oshems and chatos, because they're kach kedoshim, and the kibbul dom b'chli shoris the tzofin. We did mekabel it in the kli shoris and the tzofin. So why are you telling me that we left it out because mitzvah is a mekabel, accepted by hand? Here you see it's accepted by kli shoris. So make up your mind, which one is it? You tell me I left it out because it's done by hand, and I'm showing it's done by keli. So I'll tell you what it is. More answer. Mikora sover kibul domoy biyad. He, since by the mitzvah the coin accepted by hand, and at this point we're ostensibly only by hand. Shaira left it out. The kibun de sagale elabikli, and since we realized no hatvan bekeli also specifically must be on bekeli. So now we learned it also afterwards. The first clause we didn't want to say anything because not all korbonos are done exclusively with a keli. Some are done by hand, so we left it out. But then we realized, Enochanamic granted that the mitzvah is done by hand, but it's also done by keli. So every single chatas is done by keli, albeit the mitzvah has an additional done by hand also. So therefore, we learned we switched over, and everything is with a keli. The Tanya. How do we know it's by mitzvah? Because we're going to learn from. Let's learn the halacha. I was mentioning mitzvah, telling a bunch of these things. How do we know this? The Tanya it says, the lokach, we should take the blood, yochel b'kli, I should accept it b'keli, tam loner v'nasan, and you put it on the mitzvah. Pasuk says v'nasan, it says lokach koim dam ha'asham, and you put it on the ear and on the thumb and on the big toe, right? Manasina ba'atzmoi shakoin. Just as when you put the blood, the kohen puts it with his own hand, with his own finger. He puts it on the ear and toe and etc. Therefore, where do you get this blood? You don't accept it in the keli and pour it over into your hand. The kohen puts his hand next to the neck of the shechted cow as it's spritzing out, and you accept a little bit of the blood, and then you walk over to the mitzvah and you do what you need to do. Maybe the blood that goes to the mizbeach also the kohen accepts by hand. Okay, so too. Amr no. Chatas for osham. Ma chata just as chatas to in a keli of osham of the mitzvah and all oshams in keli is a keli. So therefore now you totally confused me. You gave me one limit I need to do by hand. You gave me one limit I need to do with a keli. Make up your mind. Nimt is after oimra osham mitzvah shnei kohanim mekablim as domoy. By the osham mitzvah, one kohen shechted it or somebody shechted it, and there are two kohanim waiting. One had a keli in his hand, one had an open palm. Echad b'yodoy, echad b'kli. And the two kohanim, yeah, you're right, we did both kinds. Each kohen did his own thing. One kohen standing there with his hand and let blood spritz into his hand. Another kohen standing with a keli and let blood spritz into the keli. The one who received the blood with his keli, bola etzel mizbeach. He went to the mizbeach and he spritzed it on the mizbeach. Then this other kohen, shekibla bayad, bola etzel mitzvah went to the mitzvah and spritzed it on the mitzvah. So therefore, what do we have over here? We have a clear limud telling you a mitzvah is both by hand and by keli. It's both, which is fine. But and how is it relevant to our sugya? Because our sugya started off saying that we were wondering why the first part of the Mishnah left out kibul dobi b'kli. You just left it out. That's it. Just like that, you left it out. And the answer is yes. The reason why I left it out is because we were first thinking, hey, not all korbonos need keli. Some are done by hand. Well, then we said, hey, 1 second. You're right. The Oshem Mitzvah is done by hand, but it's also done by keli. So you know what? The rest of the Mishnah we did by keli. We started off only by leaving it out. Then we continued all the other korbonos with telling it by keli. So that's why we have our Mishnah. They're telling which places it is, and then we just clarified why we didn't say Kibbutz Domer in the first line. And that's the whole, and that's the Omid and its review. 1 second. 1 second.